The recording started. So once again, hello everyone to my workshop. It's nice to see you all. My name is Lucas, and I'm going to conduct this workshop for you. All right, so let's start the presentation. First of all, who am I? So as I said, Łukasz or Luke in English. I've been working with node-based UIs for over 12 years now. I started my career as a full-stack developer, focused mainly on ASP.NET MVC, but eventually I fell in love with this type of interface and shifted more towards the front end. So nowadays, I mainly use React and TypeScript. That said, I still occasionally write backend code, usually with Nest.js. And currently, I represent a product, Workflow Builder, whose main interface, as you can guess, is a Node UI interface or a diagram. So throughout this workshop, I will use terms Node UI, node-based UI, and diagram interchangeably, as Node UI, node-based UI is a specific kind of the diagram interface. So before we dive into building anything, I want to make sure we're all on the same page about the node-based UIs, actually, and what they actually are. So I will give you the introduction to them. Then we'll go through key concepts, key diagramming concepts. What are the common challenges? Then we will focus on the React Flow library. So the library created for this kind of interface for the React. After this, we're going to create a very simple workflow application using React Flow and React, using live coding. After that, we're going to enhance it even further with some open source tools. And in the end, I'm going to share with you some additional resources and access to our pages, even quiz in which you can win some prize. All right, so let's start. So what is my goal today? I want to make you understand how node-based UIs works. I want you to learn how to build one in React, what to do to speed your work, what are the common pitfalls in this kind of interfaces, and what is the most important thing is I cannot promise you that you're going to be experts by the end of the work, but you will know how to start and what is possible and what traps to watch out for. I could say that if the node-based UIs are a dark forest, I will give you a flashlight and a rough map with the major danger zones clearly marked. Having that said, those workshops are for you. So if anything is unclear or you'd like me to explain something differently, please interrupt me and ask. If it gets too disruptive, I might switch to answering questions asynchronously via chat, or we will come back to those questions later. So I have a question to you. Has anyone worked with Node UIs, diagrams, graphs, especially using libraries like React Flow, Go.js, Join.js? I don't hear anything. All right, so I'm going to assume that everyone is novice in this area. Okay, so what is a node-based UI? Basically, at a high level, it is a 2D interactive space with objects called nodes and relationships called edges, like graphs, because node-based UI or diagram is kind of graph from math, and there we have nodes and edges. So this is the same naming. Examples of node-based UIs. Workflow, like we're going to the design of some algorithm from start to finish. The database viewer, so this kind of diagram is very common. Almost every database engine has similar visualization. And then org chart family tree, also very common visualization, not only for family trees, but mainly for organizations. And this kind of visualization has its own danger. I mean, usually some organizations are very huge, like hundreds of thousands of employees, and how to visualize all of them in the browser. We'll talk about it later. Or even industrial diagrams, like electrical schemas. Those are physical things, but objects like ammeter, voltmeter may be visualized as nodes on the diagram, and cables may be visualized as edges of the diagram. And many, many more. Actually, even one time we even saw the visualization on the diagram which presented fences for sheep for the shop. So almost everything can be presented as diagram, as long as there are business entities and relationships between them. All right. So what are the main components of the diagram UI or node-based UI? So for sure, there are nodes. Nodes are visual objects representing business entities. They usually carry some business data, texts, icons, or other visual elements. Sometimes even interactive things like inputs, buttons, etc. The other very important thing on the diagram UI are edges. So the connections between nodes, like links, they also can carry business data represented as labels on edges, or other data which sometimes cannot be represented on the edge itself, but when the edge is selected, it can be shown in the UI, like in the sidebar. And edges can be everything from abstract relationship to fences or cables. The next important thing is port or handle. It differs between libraries. Those are connection points on nodes to which the edge connects. So in the read-only diagram, this is just a point to which edge connects, but in dynamic diagram, where user can add new elements dynamically, this is the point from which you can start drawing an edge. I will show it you shortly. The next things are groups. So nodes which can hold inside other nodes, and they can be nested. Basically, you just put nodes inside a group and drag around a group with nodes inside, like in a bucket. And of course, all of those things are placed on a workspace. So the workspace is this 2D area with coordinate system, thanks to which there are positions in which everything exists. And the viewport is a visible portion of area. So it usually has scale applied, so you can zoom in and zoom out the viewport. So just to show you how it looks like in some real application, I will quickly change the screen from the presentation to the application. So this is the product I represent, Workflow Builder. And in here we have a node, which is a draggable object with some icon, the title, subtitle, with the selection state when I select it or when I hover over, and the relationship. So the line between objects, which comes out of the port. So this little circle in here. And since this is the dynamic application, I can just start drawing the line in here. Everything behind this the node and the relationship is a workspace. And what I'm dragging right now is a viewport. So the visible portion of the workspace, which can be dragged around, zoom in, zoom out. Okay, so let me ask you, based on what you've seen, which features of those UIs aren't standard features you implement daily? I don't hear any answers, so maybe I can answer for you. I mean, prior I started working with diagrams, I worked on a simple, the front end spotted very, very commonly like forms for bank institutions, financial institutions. And there I didn't have anything related to drag and drop, zoom in, zoom out, maybe some minimap, undo redo, some routing for edges or auto layouting. So what happens if there are hundreds of objects on the screen and how to make them readable. So those were challenges which are for me very, very diagram specific. All right, and coming back to the presentation, yeah, those are the features I just described. So the very common features in diagramming. And yeah, this kind of interface may get complex. Why? Because usually clients want to have the application beautiful, complex, and fast. And actually, it is very hard to achieve those 3 points at the same time. Just because there are a lot of limitations in the libraries, which helps to implement such interface. Limitations in browsers itself, and limitations in algorithms. Usually browsers may handle from thousands to millions elements, depending on what rendering engine is used to render the diagram. The algorithms differ greatly in their performance. Some can easily handle millions of elements, but others with higher time and memory complexity handle just hundreds of elements. So it is important to analyze the initial data or the data the client wants to visualize prior to the implementation, just to choose the proper tools, proper rendering engine, and proper algorithms to work with the diagrams or node-based UIs. All right, and now I would like to go into diagramming libraries world. So actually, there are four, in my opinion, there are four types of diagramming libraries. WebGL libraries, Canvas libraries, SVG libraries, and HTML DOM libraries. So right now I'm going to show you a quick demo of examples of those libraries, so you can see what they are and what you can do with them. And during this presentation, I'm going to cover the main features of each rendering engine on which the library is based. Okay, so first types of libraries are the WebGL libraries. So the example of such a library is keylines. This kind of libraries usually handle hundreds of thousands or millions of nodes and edges at the same time on the diagram without any advanced techniques. It is because the WebGL uses the GPU to render objects on the diagram. Thanks to that, it has great boost in performance. But the downside of such library based on WebGL is it is very hard to achieve rich nodes. And when you see the examples, usually those nodes are just circles with text, maybe some icons, some simple text, but that's it. So this kind of libraries like keylines or OGMA are mainly for a lot of elements. I entered some example. I'm not sure if right now it will handle this kind of diagram. Yeah, works. Yeah, so the simple objects connected with lines, but you can have a lot. Another type of library is Go.js. So the Go.js is based on Canvas. So Canvas is a intermediate point between the WebGL and HTML-based visualization. It uses, of course, HTML canvas elements to render objects. It still can handle hundreds. It can easily handle tens of thousands of elements, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of elements with some techniques like virtualization, which is rendering only those things which are in the current viewport. But thanks to the canvas, the objects may be much more complicated because it is much easier to draw more complicated objects. But we cannot use CSS to style them. So actually, we need to use the library's API to style elements. We can even see some example in the code. Like we can see that to create a node, we need to use a Go node object with some spot panel inside another spot panel, etc. So it is API created by this library. Another kind of library is Joint.js. It uses SVG as a rendering engine. So thanks to this, you can use CSS to style elements, and it has a better accessibility than Canvas library. But on the other hand, it is less performant than Canvas library. But besides that, it is very similar to other libraries based on the Canvas. And the last kind of the library are HTML libraries like React Flow. So in here, every object on the screen is a React component. The relationship, the node, the group. So it means that it is very easy to create an object if you know React. But on the other hand, you don't have advantages of other rendering engines. So it is the least performant engine, like HTML. It can handle hundreds of or even thousands of elements, but for sure not tens of thousands like SVG, Canvas, and WebGL. So if you want to have rich interactive application with hundreds of objects, then it's the best library. If you need more, then you need to think about how to visualize your objects on the diagram, so there are less than thousands or tens of thousands, sorry, or tens of thousands, or you need to switch to a library which can handle such big number of objects. So the example of Node in React Flow, as I said, just HTML, just the React component. All right, and going back to the presentation. Yeah, here are the main pros and cons of each rendering engine. I'm going to send you this presentation after the workshop, so you can read it more carefully then. All right, so now I'm going to switch solely to React Flow. So if you have questions to other rendering engines, other libraries, broader diagramming world, you can ask them now, because later we're going to focus mainly on React Flow. So do you have any questions until now? All right. Okay, so React Flow. As I said, the main advantage of this library is nodes are just React components. So this entry point to the library is very, very low. It has built-in handles, so those ports for edges connected to a node. It supports edge routing, labels on the edges, markers, which are arrows on edges. It supports minimap to ease the navigation through the big diagram. It supports zoom in, zoom out, and dragging the viewport around. You can group objects. You can resize objects. It supports different modes of handling state. So the uncontrolled state is when you don't have to worry about the state at all. It is handled inside the library, or there is a controlled mode, usually preferred by all of our clients, in which you have full control over the state. React Flow library uses Zustand library under the hood as a state management library. And basically that's it, because the React Flow is you can say that the React Flow is a starting point for the diagramming. It doesn't offer a lot of features. For example, you don't have out-of-the-box copy and paste, undo redo, auto layouting. Other libraries like Go.js or Join.js give them out of the box, but React Flow is much smaller. It's open source. It's basically free of charge, and gives you just this starting point so you can cover the most basic diagramming needs, and everything more you need to implement it yourself. But the most difficult things are already implemented. So just let's go to their web page. And let's see some examples. As I said, We have a custom node with even animated edges if we want. The node is just a React component. Where is the node? In here. Yeah, it has handles as a ports placed inside the React component to define those circles. There is a minimap, thanks to which we can know where we are on the diagram. Zoom in, zoom out, zoom to fit, locking, so the diagram is read-only right now, and I can just drag the diagram around, but not individual parts. It handles things like intersections between objects. There is an example how to implement the rotatable object. As I said, edges with markers, so the arrows. It supports out-of-the-box few shapes, but it also gives you the possibility to create your own shape of the arrow. All right. Yeah, there's also a validation in the library. Okay, so we finished the introduction to node-based UIs. Now, I mean, I'm going to give you a 10-minute break so you can prepare for the live coding. But during this time, we're going to create a simple node editor in React Flow. So we will have draggable nodes with edges connected to them and ability to create new edge from the handle or port. There will be a sidebar on the right-hand side in which we will edit properties of selected objects. We will add a navigation to the diagram, so we will have a zoom, we'll have a minimap. Additionally, we'll also add a background with ability to snap to grid. I will show it to you during the implementation. And we will add some interaction, like adding new nodes, auto layouting with third-party library. All right, so after the break, I will perform the live coding. If you downloaded the code, you can follow me. Yesterday, I updated the code with 2 more libraries. So if you downloaded it prior yesterday, then please pull the latest version. If you don't want to follow me, then you have just 10-minute break. So we will see each other in 10 minutes. Thanks. one more minute and we will start. All right, so the break is over. Maybe I will check if you can hear me. So can you hear me? All right.
Yes, perfectly. Yes.
Great. Okay, so now I'm going to switch from sharing the presentation to sharing the code. So let me change the screen. Right. Once again. I don't have any indication whether the screen with Visual Studio Code is visible, but yeah, it is. Okay. All right. So this is the starting point of the application. It has only a few files, so it is just a regular React application. We have some app.tsx with the diagram inside. The diagram is just a component, a simple component with the React Flow component inside, with some initial data. And that's it. So let's see how it looks like when we run the code. So it's just an empty white screen with two draggable nodes and one relationship. So let's go to the code. And let's explain what is happening in here. But I will start with removing some code because this is the more advanced state. I want to start with the very, very basic state. So first of all, to create a React Flow application, we need to add a React Flow React component. So the React Flow we've already added, and then we need to populate it with some data. If I use the default data pod, default nodes, I will enter the uncontrolled mode in which I don't have to worry about the state because the state is going to be handled internally by React Flow. So I don't have any state outside of the React Flow component. I cannot see what is happening inside. I just added into the component initial nodes, so the array objects with ID, position, and some internal data, and array of edges, which also are just objects with IDs, with the source ID. So this is the source node ID, so this one, and target node ID, so this one. So it means that this is the edge from this object to this object. And this configuration is enough to create a working diagram. So as you can see, I can drag objects around. The state is handled internally. So anytime I drag an object, I change its coordinates, so the position. and I don't have to update the position myself. It happens automatically. And so if it happens automatically, how could I add a new object or delete object, update object? So it is possible because React Flow library gives us hook use React Flow, which exposes the internal methods of the library. So let's use this hook. And it gives us, for example, add edges, add nodes methods. And with those methods, we can add new objects to the state. We will cover adding new objects to the state, but in the controlled mode, because it is much more popular mode. The only thing is, if I right now save the application and go back to the browser, I won't see anything. And let's check the developer tools, what's happening. I'm getting an error. Seems like you have not used substance provider as an ancestor. Why? Because if I want to access the internal state of the React Flow library, I need to wrap my code into React Flow provider. So every React object which wants to have access to the React Flow state need to be wrapped in this provider. So we're going to add it in here. All right, and now when we switch to the browser, the diagrams work. Okay, so as I said, the most common way to handle React Flow state is using the control mode, and we are going to do it right now. But I'm going to use the simpler way. I mean, it's not a simpler way. I'm going to use a way which is the default for the React. So we are going just to use state. All right, so we're going to add state to this component. For nodes. And edges. All right, let's import useState from React and pass nodes and edges to the React Flow. But to enter the controlled mode, I cannot use the default node and default edges. I need to use just nodes and edges. Okay. All right, so now I'm using my internal state. And let's see how it looks like in the application. So nodes and the relationship or edge are rendered. I can select them, but I cannot move them around. Why? Because I'm in controlled mode, so I need to handle it myself. So how to handle node and edge changes? So in React Flow, there's prop on node change and on edges change. And I need to pass a callback. So on nodes change. It's going to be, it's going to get changes. And those changes should be applied to the set nodes. Sorry, not that. I need to use. The React Flow provides us the helper functions, like applied node changes, the applied edge changes, with which we can just pass changes done the React Flow object with nodes, and it will update our state. What are those changes? So the React Flow is event-based. So everything I do on the diagram fires an event, like event of type position change or dimension change, and those changes have this diff about what changed in the node or in the edge. So this applied node changes method helps us to parse this object and apply to the correct nodes in the array of nodes. So the same we can do for the edges. Probably there is some typo. Apply edge changes, of course. All right, and now I can pass those callbacks to those props, and let's see what happens. All right, I can move objects around. So right now, since we have handles, let's create an edge. I can draw an edge, but when I try to commit this change, I cannot. Why? Because to handle creating a new edge, I need to handle yet another prop, which is called connect. All right, so let's create this. It gets a connection, which is just an object with information from what node to which node we want to create a connection, along with information about the handles, the source handle and target handle. And here we're going to use add edge helper function from the React Flow, but this add edge is accessible via use React Flow probably. Let's check. No, let me see my notes quickly. No, it's not on use React Flow. It is directly inside the library. Let's type it correctly. All right. What's happening now? Duplicate identifier. I already had that. All right. So now I have added those 3 callbacks, and let's see how the application works. Let's remove the edge, create a new edge. It works. So now I have created the possibility to move nodes around to create new edges. And I did that with just React state. And the React Flow library created a shortcut for us, so we don't have to create every time those nodes change on edges change with those apply nodes changes, apply edges changes. We can use hook from them. So it is a use node state and use edges state, which has third result here with this callback. So they created it for us, so we don't have to create it once again. All right, and set nodes is not needed anymore, so we can omit it. And let's just see if those hooks work correctly. So let's go back to the application. And still I can drag objects around and I can create a link. Okay, so the very important thing in React Flow is almost everything which goes into the React Flow component needs to be memoized. When we don't pass memoized function or property, it may impact our performance greatly. Later on, I will show you how to test it. Right now, I will just wrap this use on connect with this callback. And it fixes the problem. Okay, so we have a simple diagram. So now let's go to the navigation of the diagram. So the background of the diagram, the minimap, the controls to zoom in, zoom out, how to achieve those things with React Flow library. Very easily. Actually, the React Flow library already gives us components for those 3 navigation elements. So I will start with background. So there's a background React component in the React Flow. Let's go with things which are not used anymore. Okay, so the background is added, how it looks like. Okay, as default, I have dots as a background. So I'm going to change those dots to another shape. Let's go with lines. Okay, so the rectangular lines. For the background, we can also specify what is the default gap between dots or lines. As default, it is 20 pixels. You can just provide a gap of like 100. Let's see how it looks like. Yeah, the cells are much bigger. Let's go back to the default value of 20 pixels. Okay, the next thing is minimap. Also, the React Flow provides us component I can specify in which position the minimap should be shown on the diagram. So let's go with bottom left. All right, I have minimap in bottom left. Actually, I wanted bottom right. So let's go back and go to here and change it to bottom right. And now I have minimap, which is not interactive, but I can see where I am on the diagram. So now let's make it interactive. We can do it very easily just by providing two additional properties. The first one is spannable. It means that I can drag the viewport inside the minimap. And the second one is zoomable. So I can use my mouse's scroll to change zoom on the diagram inside the minimap. So now when I come back to the browser, I can drag the viewport around and move the real viewport to the diagram. And if I use the scroll on my mouse, I can zoom in, zoom out. But just one tick of my scroll in mouse changes zoom drastically. So I will change it. So I can provide a step property, zoom step property to 1. So now when I scroll, it is much more fluent. Okay, and the third component is going to be a zoom bar. This is called controls. And I'm going to put it into bottom left corner. As you can see on the bottom left, we have those controls with zoom in, zoom out, zoom to fit, and making the diagram read-only or not read-only. This bar can be easily extended. So if we want to use the implementation from React Flow, we can just add new controls inside as a children. Let's see the reference for this object. Yeah, this is what I already did. And they have a control button. So we can just put control button inside with additional buttons. But you are not forced to just use the controls that they created. You can easily recreate all of those functionalities in your own custom React UI using the use React Flow hook, because it provides those functionalities like zoom in, zoom out, zoom to, etc. So you can just use this hook inside your custom React component and call those methods to achieve the same results. All right, so we added the basic navigation to the diagram. Right now, I don't like that every time I open the diagram, it goes to the top left corner. It is because I assigned the initial position of this object to 0, 0. I could change this initial position to any other point on the screen, but of course it wouldn't be so reusable, because people have different screens. So I just want to have initial position of the diagram, of content of the diagram in the center of any screen. So it can be very easily achieved with zoom to fit. So I can just provide a property fit view to the React flow, and it tells React flow that the initial view should be centered and fit to view. So for the small diagram, I have this quite big zoom in, but if I have much larger diagram, I will see whole diagram inside my visible viewport. All right. Maybe one more thing. This fit view, of course, works if we have initial data static. But if we load the initial data from database, from any asynchronous action, we can always use, as previously, use React Flow. Because it provides us this method fit view, which does the same thing, but we can call it by ourselves. Okay, so we have a diagram with nice pattern behind it, but this pattern doesn't change anything. I mean, I can place objects wherever I want. What if the requirement is I want object always to be snapped to grid, so the top left corner of the object is always at the top left corner of the cell of the pattern? We can achieve it very easily. There is a property in React Flow component called snap grid. It is just a Boolean property, so I have enabled it. And there is another property, snap grid, which tells React Flow what should be the grid to which it is snapped, because it is not derived from the background. It can be any grid. So I can provide like 20 by 20, which fits my background, my background pattern. And now when I refresh, I can see that the movement is snappy, and the top left corner is always at the top left corner of the cell. And just to prove that it is different grid than the background shape, I will change it to 100. And now the snap is much bigger, not by one cell. Okay, so we covered snap to grid. And one more thing before we go to the node templates and how to create a custom node template, I want to show you then how to speed up the React Flow application. So let's go to the developer tools and let's see how this node is represented. All right, so it is a div. We can see that this is the div with data ID 1. And when I move it out of the viewport, so it is not visible, I can still see it in HTML. So it is rendered always. It may be a problem if we have many nodes, like hundreds of thousands of nodes, or if they are very rich in case of visualization, heavy objects inside. So the React Flow has mechanism to stop rendering objects which are not visible. And actually, it is very nice features because other libraries don't have such a feature out of the box. And at least most of those libraries don't have such a feature. And in React Flow, I can just use another property, which is called only render visible elements. And now, when I check this object with data ID 1 and make it out of the viewport, it is stopped being rendered. Now we can see it in the HTML. Now we cannot. So this property works for both nodes and edges. So when edge is out of the viewport, it also disappears from HTML. Right now, my divs, edges, and nodes are empty. Okay, so still one more thing, because before we jump into node templates, I forgot to add arrow to the edge template. So how to create such an arrow? Fortunately, React provides very basic arrows out of the box. What I just need to do, I need to add this arrow to the data of an edge. So the arrow in the React flow is called marker, and we have, of course, source markers and target markers. Actually, they are called marker start or begin and marker end. Yeah, marker start and marker end. So I want to have an arrow at the end of the edge. So marker end. Arrow. All right, let's go back. Let's refresh. Yeah, and we can see that indeed there is an arrow at the end. When I create a new edge, I won't have this arrow because I added this marker only to the initial data. And how to create the arrow for all edges created dynamically, I will show you later when we add the more interactivity to the diagram. But what if you want to have not arrow at the end of the edge, but I don't know, circle or any other shape? So you can create it by yourself. The React flow shows how to do that. Let's go to the examples and markers. In here, you can see that, for example, this logo of React flow is a marker of an edge. So how they achieved that? In the edge data, because it is default edges collection, there is a marker and logo, but they didn't use as me this object with type arrow closed or arrow, but they just used identifier. So where they define this identifier. So there is a special custom React component with SVG definition, and inside they have a definition of marker with ID logo, and here they just define SVG for this shape. So actually you can have anything as a marker in React Flow, you just need to provide it as SVG. Okay, so those were very simple things to do. We have a working diagram with some basic navigation, with snap to grid feature, with arrow. But what if I want to have much complicated nodes? Because what we can see right now are the default node provided by the React Flow library itself. So let's create a new node templates and assign them to my data. All right, so to do that, I will create a new folder, node templates. I will create a custom node template component. I will create a style for it. Okay, and let's create a very simple object. And let's say that this node container initially is going to background color red. And it's going to be a rectangle. Okay, so I have created a very simple object, the div with 100 pixels by 100 pixels with red background. How to add it as a node to the React flow. So we need to register it. In React flow, there is a collection node types, which is used for registering new node looks. So I need to provide an identifier for my new node type, like custom. And the custom identifier is going to be bound to my custom node template. And going back to the application, nothing changed. Why? Because I still have the default object and I didn't provide a type property to the node data in my data array. So I'm going to add it here, the identifier of my custom node. And now when I go back to the application, I should see the red rectangles instead of the regular nodes. So we successfully registered the custom nodes, but we did a major mistake. Let's see the profile. Yeah, and I'm on guest, so I cannot see a profiler. So I'm going to change the browser from my regular browser and use the profiler there. Okay, I cannot use it right now. So I will just explain you. So if you use a React profiler in your browser and start recording and move node around, you will see that not only this node, but also this node is re-rendered every time I move the node by 1 pixel. So a lot of times. And it is because I passed node type as an object, which is re-rendered anytime the React Flow components is re-rendered, and it is re-rendered as many times as nodes collection changes, and this collection changes anytime I move an object. So I can just move it outside of the React context, like here. And now it won't be rendered. So we are good and it should work, but I cannot show it to you right now because I don't have access to Profiler during the presentation. Okay. So now let's create a much better. It will also be, it will be still ugly node, but better looking than just a red rectangle. So what I want to have inside my node. So the container is going to contain a header. Inside the header, I want to show an icon the title and subtitle. So maybe just before I create a template, I will update my data to show you what we're going to represent. So I'm going to title, subtitle, the same for the other object. Oops. Actually, let's type those things so we don't have problems with types later. So we're going to add title for node data, which is just a title string, and subtitle string. There's a typo here. And we're going to export the custom node data with our data inside. But we need to import node from React Flow because it will use the node type from HTML. If we don't do that, all right. So we already have the data with title and subtitle inside the initial nodes. Now let's go to our custom node template and build more things like an icon. I'm going to just use some static icon from Phosphor icons library. Let's use Lightning. Then I'm going to have a container for my header and subheader. Inside, I'm going to title and subtitle. Okay, but from where I can get data? Actually, when this object gets props, almost every property which regular node have, along with the data. So I can access like this, but I need to type it. So I'm going to use a node props type from the React Flow with my custom node type, which I've just created. Besides data, I have access to ID, selected state, and other states of the node. I'm going to style those two. All right, and besides header, we also want to have some content. So let's create a simple container for content. And for now, let's just put some text like content. All right. How it looks before styling? Yeah, so we can see that HTML works. Now let's add some styling, and I'm going to just copy the styles because it's very boring to just create styles by hand during the workshop. So let me do that. All right, so the node container has some box shadow. It's white container with some border. It has header with gap between elements. I resetted margin for the P element. I added different font size for title and subtitle. And actually, I'm already prepared for the selected state. So if I select an object, I wanted to change the border to black from transparent. All right, so right now let's see how those styles work. Okay, so I can see that the styles work correctly, but when I select an object, nothing happens because I need to apply the proper class name. So I expect the selected class name to be applied to node container. So I can do it in here. I can get information about selected from the props. Normally, I would use a library like CLSX, but I didn't want to use too many libraries during the workshop, so I'm going to make it by hand. All right, so now when when we have select state on our node, we're going to apply additional class name selected. Otherwise, there is no additional class name. Let's see how it works. Yes, when I select an object, there is a black stroke around it. All right. Let me check my notes, what I wanted to show next about nodes. I want to show you one important thing about inputs inside React Flow nodes. Because, of course, it is very easy to add input. Yeah, I can just add the HTML input component. And that's it. I have input inside. But let's say I want to write something, and then I want to select the text. I cannot because I'm dragging the node, because the node is draggable, and every component inside, when I click a mouse button on it and drag, the node will be dragged, and it's very hard to select something. I need to be very quick like that. So the React Flow provides support for such a thing. I need to apply a static class name to the input. It is called no drag. And now no dragging happens over this input component. Over anything else, I can still drag over the input node. There's also another class called no pan. So thanks to that, no dragging of viewport happens and no scroll. So then when I use the scroll inside the mouse, I don't invoke the zoom in the React Flow. So those are those helper class names. Okay, let's remove this input. And now let's add our handles so we can create some edges. So to create a handle, we can use the handle component from React Flow. The handle component expects us to gives it a type. So there are two types of handles, source and target. So let's create both. The type source, let's put it in the position left, source right, so position right. And the other handle, target, it will be on the left-hand side of the node. All right, let's see. Yes, and now we can see that the handles appeared and the link was automatically connected to the source handle and target handle. The very important thing is the position. If you want to position a handle in the middle of the side, you can just use the position and that's it. But you can easily override the position with CSS because the handle is positioned absolutely on the side. So you can choose any other position for it. And actually, the main purpose of providing the position for the handle is it is used by React Flow to calculate from which, I mean, the initial direction of the line coming out of it or incoming. So thanks to it, it is on the right-hand side. It is the position right. It knows that the initial angle of the edge should be to the right. If let's show it. If I do it like this, I will assign the position left to the source handle. And change its styles. You cannot see it because the line goes below the node, but even code right now. I will drop it. But yeah, the position dictates the direction of the edge. But what if we want to have more target handles? Sorry, what if we want to have more source target handles? How to tell the React Flow from which handle the edge should be drawn? First of all, we need to assign ID to handles. And then we can change the styles. All right. Source one, source two. It's going to be 20% from top, and it's going to be 80% from top. Let's see how it looks like in the application. All right, so I have two handles, but still I'm going to refresh. Okay, so by default, the edge is connected to the first source handle it finds in the node template. But I can easily tell a React flow to which handle the edge should be connected using source handle and target handle props in node data. So let's go to our initial nodes, edges actually, and tell it that the source handle is source 2, I think. Yes, source. Now let's go back to the browser. And indeed, it is reconnected to the handle with ID source 2. All right. But the next issue, the next challenge, what if I want to show handle dynamically during the runtime of the application? Like user does something and I want to create a new handle. Let's simulate this behavior. Let's add some button to the node, which shows additional handle. So just for the sake of the simulation, let's create a very simple state, like additional handle visible. All right, and let's create a button click method. Which will toggle the visibility of the handle. So right now I have handle for, the callback for the button, but I don't have button. So let's add it to the content. Button handle. The button is going to have its own property button click. And let's show another handle. If this property is true. But it's going to be positioned on the bottom, so it's clearly visible, and it's going to be target 2. All right, so let's go back to the code. Okay, so we have the button, the handle is here, so let's try to draw something from it. I cannot, but I can draw something from other handles. Why is that so? Because I created a new handle, it is visually in here, so the div or any other component I used for the handle is here, but I didn't inform React Flow that such thing happened, and it is not registered in internal React Flow engine. So I need to register it. The React Flow gives us a hook, which will help in this situation. This hook is called use update node internals. And I just need to call it. The methods returned by hook, I just need to call it in a place where I edited something inside the node, but it's going to be called with ID of the node changed. So I need to access the ID via props. All right, and now when I come back to the browser, let's see if I toggle handle. I can see the handle. I can see it, and I can create a link. Great. All right. And the last thing I wanted to show you regarding nodes is the ability to resize a node. So I already applied a style 100% by 100% width and height to the node container, predicting that I'm going to use resize capability. So how to do that? The React flow provides us a component which can be placed inside the node. It is called a node resizer. So I can just place it inside, and that's it. It is imported from the React flow. Let's go back to the application, to the browser, and we can see that around the node there is a blue border with some rectangles, and using them we can resize an object. So actually what we are resizing is the React flow wrapper. So each node is wrapped in additional div provided by React flow. And if I assigned the container 100% by 100% width and height, then it derives its size from its wrapper. So it works correctly. All right. So right now, I want to show you how to work with dimensions of nodes. To do that, let's expose nodes collections to Dark console to see how they look like internally. All right, so the collection of nodes inside the React flow looks like this. Each node has some ID, data, whether it is dragging right now, its position, selected state, its type, and we have also the width and height as measured, or width and height as a separate properties on the main level of nodes data, of node instance. So I'm going to refresh the page and once again check the nodes. So if I didn't change size, I only have information about the measured width and height. But when I resize it and check it once again, I can see that besides measured, I also have information about width and height in here. And the very important thing about it is those fields are read-only. So I cannot use them to apply a custom size. It is a common mistake in React Flow. If we edit width and height, sometimes it may even result in changing the size of a node, but not every internal thing under the hood is going to be informed about this change. So we cannot do that. So how to programmatically change the size of the node? So the most obvious answer is just use CSS, because nodes are just React components. We can change their size using CSS. And it is an official answer from library creators. If you really not want to use CSS, but you want to make it programmatically, you can fire a custom event with this node ID, with the type dimensions, and new width and height. But you need to check the library code, how they fire a custom events. All right, so we have created a node, a custom node. Now let's focus on custom edge. And just to let you know where we are in the workshop. So now after we created the node templates, we're going to create a custom edge templates. Then I will show you very quickly how to add a group to the diagram. Then we will create a button, create a new node dynamically on the diagram. Then we will add a very simple sidebar on the right-hand side, so we can edit title and subtitle of selected objects. And we will use a very simple auto layout algorithm to automatically lay out objects on the screen so they are more readable when there are more than a few objects. After this, we'll conclude the live coding and we will move to the last section of the workshop. So the usage of external tools to ease the work on the diagrams or node-based UIs. All right, so the custom edge. So the same as with custom node template, let's create a separate folder for it, templates. Let's create file with React component. And now, actually, edges in React Flow are just SVG shapes. So you could just use SVG, draw an edge. So React Flow gives you a component for the base edge shape. So you can just use base edge. And that's it. But base edge expects us to pass a path. So path, it is how the edge looks like. And path is a SVG path. So of course we could just write it by hand, but it will be a static SVG shape. So we can use a helper from the library. So they prepared a helper to handle the most common edge routings, like orthogonal routing, Bezier, or just simple direct edges without any steps. So I'm going to use orthogonal edge called in this library smooth step path. It returns me a path, which I can apply in here. But to calculate how the path of an edge should look like, we need to pass several attributes. As you could imagine, if you were to calculate by hand how to create an edge, you need to have a starting point, starting handle, ending point, and ending handle. And the direction of the initial segment of an edge near the source and direction of the initial segment at the target node of an edge. So all of those things we can get via props. Source X, source Y, source position, target X, target Y, and target position. All right. So now let's see how the edge looks like. But we still have this our old edge with marker and with other routing, just because we haven't registered this edge in React Flow. So going back to the diagram, we can create edge types. Register it here. And we also need to assign the type to the. All right, there is an error in here. Let's see. Let me check the implementation of fetch template. I didn't return the component. All right, so now let's see how the edge looks like. Yes, this is my edge. It is different routing. It is orthogonal routing, so each segment is perpendicular to the other segment. And I don't have any marker inside because I don't use the prop marker inside my custom edge, but I can use it very easily. I can get it from here and pass it to here. All right, and now I have arrow at the end. But still, when I create a new arrow, there is no information about the arrow, and there is a default type of an edge. So there is no my custom edge template used. So how to do that? How to ensure that my custom edge is used when I create a new edge? Let's go to the diagram TSX. And in here, we have added this onConnect method in which we get the connection, which is added to edge collection. So in here, we can influence what we put inside the React Flow state. So let's extend this connection with our type. And we can use marker end also as in the initial data. And let's see how creating a new edge works right now. All right, it uses my my edge template. Of course, it is very naive implementation. If you have a lot more edge types, probably here, basing on connection to which it is connected, to what it is connected, you can choose what type of type, marker, etc. should be used. Okay, so we have a custom edge. What if I want to add a label to custom edge? So there is a helper component called edge label renderer. In which the edge label should be wrapped. And it's going to be a simple key. The label is going to be gotten from the props. The label will be positioned absolute. I'm going to reset the piece margin. And since the label has text, I want the label to be centered on the on the edge. I will transform it by 50%. And I'm going to use a label position which is returned by this routing, because besides path, it also gives me a label X and a label Y on the edge. All right, and the remaining work is to just provide a label inside an edge. And let's see how it works. Yeah, I have a label, but it is rendered outside of an edge. So let's see if I made some mistake. Probably somewhere in here, translate, right? Or something more. Yeah, it's dot, not comma. All right. Now it works. Okay, so the label follows the edge, and what this edge label renderer does, it creates a portal for the edge. So since it is just an SVG shape, it is the label is portaled over the edge with a proper X and Y returned by routing algorithm. Okay. One last thing regarding nodes and edges I wanted to show you is right now I have handles with type source and target. So if this is a target, so if I want to create a target to target, I cannot. So what if I want to have handles around an object and I want to create everyone with everyone? It is possible, even though there are only two types, source and target. We can specify the connection mode for the React flow to loose. And then the React flow will not look at handle type and will allow connecting everything with everything. So I can specify it here in React flow component. There is a connection mode property. Loose. All right, and let's see how it works. So for sure, I can create source with the source right now. It works. But even though I try to create a target to target, I cannot, I have some errors inside. And I don't know why this happens. It is some internal thing inside the library. So it is, if we want to have those generic handles without real types, it is safer to use type source, not type target. So I'm going to change this to source. And now, even though I have source handles everywhere, I can connect everything with everything. All right. Okay, so we have a nodes. We have specified custom nodes. We have specified custom edges. What now? So the last remaining part of the diagram, which we haven't covered, is group. So let's quickly create a group. And we're going to use default group from React Flow because creating a custom group is the same as creating a custom node. It is the same thing because the group is just a node which can call inside other nodes. It cannot, it is matter of one property. All right. So going to the diagram, let's add another object to the data. ID3 position. Type group. And I need to assign some data because it's mandatory. So let's add an empty object. Okay, so I have a type group object. I can assign any initial size to it. So it is the only place in which I can use the width and height and it will work correctly. And let's see if the object was added. All right, so the object is here. Now I need to assign nodes to it. I can do it very easily. I can just specify the parent property, parent ID, free, because the group is free. And let's see if it works. It doesn't work. Why? Because in React Flow, it is very important that the group is sooner in array than its children. So to make it work, I need to place it in here. So it is a very important thing to remember, because if we were to implement a feature in which we dynamically add new nodes to group, we need to ensure that always the group is before its children in state. So whenever we add a node which is sooner in state than its group, then we need to move the group in state further down with some sorting. But yeah, for the sake of the presentation, we'll do it manually. Now let's go to the diagram, refresh. And yeah, I can drag the group around. And now very important thing about the groups. They have their own coordinate system. So it means that if child has position 0 and 0, it is a part of a group. It is a 0, 0 according to top left corner of the group, not top left corner of the whole diagram. If groups are nested, the position of child is always according to its nearest parent. Okay, and now I can drag a node, but I can drag a node outside of the group. What if I want to restrict its movement so it cannot extend the group? There is a property I can specify on the node. It is called extend. Parent. The same for the other object. With this property, I'm telling that the child cannot extend the parent. Let's refresh. And yeah, I cannot move it outside of the group. The extent is more advanced because I could also provide not a parent but coordinates, and then I could create abstract rectangle in which the node can be moved. Additional thing besides extend is expand parent. It means that the parent will grow with its child. So if I move a child outside of it, I can continue my movement, but the group will grow with me. But the important thing to remember is this property works only for the first group in group hierarchy. So if I have nested groups, only the first group will be extended, not all of them. Right. So this is a simple grouping presentation. I will remove the group right now. Remove parent IDs. All right. And now let's create some. Let's create a node dynamically. So how to do that? How to influence the state? So first of all, let's add an object. I mean the button to the diagram with which we will create a new node. So I will use a panel. I could use any React component and place it over the diagram, but it is during the presentation, it is much faster to use the default React Flow mechanisms of placing panels. So I will use panel from React Flow, use the positioning to the top left. Inside the panel, I'm going to add a button, add nodes with on-click methods, which will add a node. All right, so what should happen if I click on the button? There is a helper method from React Flow accessible via hook. Use React Flow. Call add nodes. So I can use it in here. So I'm going to call add nodes, to which I need to provide a button. I need to provide a new node or array of nodes with some ID. Let's generate the ID. In some position, let's use just 0, 0. With some data, title. And with my custom type. All right, let's see if I didn't do any mistake. I have a button, and now when I click it, new node appeared. Great. So basically, that's it in terms of creating a new object. We can just call this add nodes, and that's it. Of course, right now we are still using the very simple state. In real world applications, we usually have some centralized state like Substance or Redux, or even React context. So probably instead of adding nodes using the React Flow mechanisms, we will use just add nodes action from our centralized state management. And designing a state management, it is almost the same as, using nodes and edges in our state management library is almost the same as using them in here. Instead of just using use node state, we would use this previous method of apply node changes, apply edge changes when the node is updated, and that's it. Okay, so it was just a minor digression. Let's create a sidebar. Because right now we know how to add a new node, how to add a new edge. Removing edges and nodes is the same. I can use shortcut like delete or backspace. I can use a method from use React Flow delete elements. But what about updating? So let's quickly create a sidebar. Inside sidebar, we are going to have just two inputs to edit title and subtitle. All right, just so creating just a simple React components. React component is quite boring during workshop, so I'm going to copy the code. All right, I will also create styling for it. So sidebar model and copy the code. And I'm going to register my sidebar in my app. Oops, not the sidebar. From sidebar, yes. All right. So let's look how the sidebar looks like. It's just a container div with two fields, one for title, one for subtitle. Let's see how it's rendered, just to ensure that it's there. It is there. Great. So now I want to show the title and subtitle of selected object. How to do that? I need to access the React Flow state inside my sidebar. So the first thing I had to do was to place it inside the React Flow provider, because only there I have access to React Flow state in custom components. So it's there. So now I can use hooks from React Flow to access the state. So I will show you a few ways how it can be accomplished. So first of all, the React Flow exposes use store hook, and with use store hook, you can access any state kept inside React Flow. All right, and I need to provide the selector to use state. So from state, I want to get nodes, and I want to filter them. So only select node is used, and actually I'm going to get the first selected node from the array. All right, so I have the selected node. Now I need to provide a value to my input. And the same here. What's subtitle? All right, what's happening? Yeah, I need to properly type it. Right now, I will just cast it to custom node. So my type for the custom node I created. Okay, so let's see how it works. Yes, it shows correctly the values of selected node. Of course, I cannot edit it right now because I haven't provided any unchanged prop, but the values are added correctly. Another way to access this store is using use nodes. So instead of use store, I can just use nodes, use nodes. All right, I can type it here. And it should work too. Yes, it works too. What's the issue with those two methods? Use nodes and use store. When I get nodes from them, they will refresh my component anytime something changes inside React Flow state inside nodes, like when I drag an object. So on every drag tick, the sidebar will be rendered because something changed in the nodes array. It's hard to handle with just internal React Flow state without any additional state kept by us. So what we could do, we could create another custom state with selected ID, and we could access only the selected ID. Like if we had a Zustand, Redux, or even React context, and we could put selected node ID there, then we could access it here by ID, and then we will only get only one node, and it won't refresh sidebar as long as this node is not changed. But for sake of this presentation, let's keep this implementation, even though it is not optimal. Okay, so just to finish the sidebar, let's add methods to update nodes when input changes. All right, so I'm going to copy the code just to speed up the presentation. We will explain it shortly. All right, what happens? So anytime I change input, this callback fires, and this callback uses update node method from user React Flow hook. To the update node, I provide ID of updated node along with updated data. So I'm spreading the old data and I'm assigning a new value to the title. And the same for the subtitle. So let's see if it works. Yes. Right. All right. So we have implemented a simple sidebar which shows data for selected nodes and updates our nodes via update node method from user React Flow hook. So we know already how to update nodes. The updating edges is the same, but instead of using update nodes, we'll use update edges. All right. So just very quickly, I will just copy the code of auto layout, so you can see how to use auto layouting in React Flow. So I'm going to create a hook, use auto layout. In this hook, I'm going to use external library because React Flow doesn't have any algorithm for auto layouting. So there is one of the libraries for auto layouting is Dagri. And thanks to this library, we can lay out directed graphs, which aren't trees. So the tree is the very simple algorithm for layouting an diagram. And if we want to lay out a more general set of diagrams, the layouts like Dagri are better, but slower. So I'm using its API to create a graph, Dagri graph. I provided information that it should lay out objects from left to right. Then I'm mapping my nodes and edges gotten via hook, use React Flow, to the Dagri library with set node, set edge. Then I'm invoking the layout of the Dagri. So it assigns a new positions to my objects and assigns new points to edges. And then I'm mapping once again from the Dagri format to the React Flow format. So I'm reading for each node in my nodes collection, I'm getting it from the Dagri collection, and I'm assigning a new position to React Flow via update node method. So this is the hook, and I need to invoke it. So let's go to the diagram and create yet another button to invoke the auto layouting. Let's say it's going to be positioned on top right. On layout, button clicked. And let's implement it by copy paste, use my hook. And I just invoke the method from exported by hook. So let's see how it works. I will add a few more nodes. And click layout. Yeah, and it positioned my nodes according to the algorithm. The routing of edges is not optimal just because I'm still relying on the routing of edges provided by React Flow. I could map result of Dagri layout to the SVG path of each edge, but I didn't want to do that during this workshop just because it would be it would take too long. But yeah, since the Dagri layout provides us a list of points for each of edge, it is quite easy to map list of points to the SVG path. For sure, React Flow has example on that. Let's see. Yes, layout Dagri. They have also the same scenario, but I'm not sure if they are mapping edges. No, they are not. They also map only positions of objects. But yeah, mapping edges is also possible. All right. So this part concludes the live coding of the diagram. So it's in a matter of 2 hours, we have created an interactive diagram with draggable nodes, with ability to create links. The nodes are resizable. They are just a custom React components. We have ability to add a new node. We can zoom in, zoom out. We can navigate via minimap. We have snap to grid functionality. We have a simple layout. We have the ability to edit a node via sidebar. So you could imagine how long it would take to implement all of those things without a library like React Flow. So even though it is quite a simple library, it does a lot of heavy lifting for us. And right now, we have a starting point to improve the application even further. We could add more and more features. And what are the features which are the most common? Let's go back to my presentation. So I'm going to change the screen. 1 minute. All right. Going further. So as I said, where are we now? We built the basics. The core functionality is implemented. The React Flow helped, accelerated our development, but real apps need much more features. So what are those features? So it may be a bit overwhelming if we need to still add a drag and drop palette. So you can drag and drop features from the palette on the diagram. Copy and paste. You may need to export your diagram as an image or PDF. You may want to add a rotation to objects. A very common thing is undo, redo. Nowadays, more and more clients want to implement a real-time collaboration when more than one person works on the same diagram at the same time. What about edge paths? Of course, I have shown you that it is possible to reshape path. To use the algorithm to provide edge routing. But what if we want to manually reshape the path how we want? Or what about much more advanced auto layouts, like handling groups, nested groups, or handling tens of thousands of objects for any graph without any structure? Those are challenges, quite common challenges in this world. And we know it is not so easy to overcome them. So yeah, we want to help. After so many years in this area, we decided that we want to contribute and to add something more to the community. So first of all, we created a design system for the diagramming application because some of our clients, they don't have designers on their side and they don't want to pay for the design. They want just the functionality and the features just should look nice. So for them, we created a simple design system. And since it is complete, we can share it with the world. What's more, we decided that we want to create an open source library which implements this design system. So everything which can be found in our Figma will be implemented in our open source library. Some of them already are, and I will show it shortly, but not all of them. So it will be still updated. We also implemented most of the features I've covered on my slides, like Androido, rotation, much better layouting, radio button nodes, much better state management with objects instead of arrays. But those things are very hard to achieve, and we can't make them open source because we need to live as a company. So those are our premium features, optional. And those three parts, open source toolkit for the UI components, the design system, and those premium advanced features are our overflow library, which is accessible by anyone. I'm going to show you shortly. Yes, so the overflow dev, it provides, first of all, UI components for the diagram, like good looking nodes with selection states, the same for edges, with labels and selection and hover states. The UI components like simple buttons, checkboxes, menus, modals, everything required in the diagramming application. So this library is open source under MIT license and can be used in any project. I will share a link to this library at my ending slide of the presentation. For example, I'm not going to add this library right now to the code because we don't have time. I just want to show you that adding an object which looks like this with all of those features, it's a matter of using just node panel, root, header, handles, and that's it. The whole heavy lifting, styling, animations is done internally in the library code. All right. Yes, and at the end, we realized that even if we expose those building blocks for the applications, still connecting them together still may be challenging for the client, for the user. So we decided that we want to create a workflow builder. So our product, which is a white label tool, the starting point for any diagramming application. And it provides the user with this design system already implemented, with the palette, with the sidebar for editing features, attributes of nodes. It already supports actions like copy-paste, Androido. It supports translations, auto-layouting, dark and light mode, and everything we can find in Workflow Builder can be configurable via JSON. So just a quick demo. So you've already seen the Workflow Builder at the beginning of my presentation. So what it can do right now. So as I said, on the left-hand side, we have a palette, which we can drag and drop objects. Of course, there are handles already implemented with edges. On the right-hand side, there is a property sidebar in which we can edit properties of objects. Each object has its own type, and the properties are dynamic. So for each type has its own set of properties. And what is very important about this product is to add a new object to the palette with its own set of properties. It's just a matter of editing JSON. So it is very easy to achieve a new object with new set of properties without any coding, as long as you as your business requirements need just those controls which we already implement. If you need more controls, then still it is just an open source product created in React Flow, so you can easily add a new component, control, or new object on the diagram. It supports auto layouting, read-only mode. It is based on CSS variables, and actually it is quite well connected with our Figma design system, where designers design styles of the application and CSS variables which are synchronized with the workflow builder. So it is very easy to change styling of the application using just CSS variables or Figma. It supports saving the state and opening the state, of course, under redo. And we are adding more and more predefined nodes to the palette. So if you ever want to create a new diagramming product, new diagramming application, and you don't want to start from scratch as we did today during the workshop, you can always use this product to speed up your work. It is free to use to a non-commercial product, and for the commercial products, we have a license. Yes. So as you can see, the node-based UIs or the diagrams are quite complex, but manageable thanks to the libraries and additional tools. All right. So this concludes the presentation, the workshop. You can find anything. I mean, you can find the code I written today in our GitHub resources. So there is a link here. We have also a community for the diagram builders, not only about the React Flow, but also about Go.js, which is another technology in which we specialize. And you can get additional perks when you visit our React Summit page, where you can find ebooks about React Flow, links to our UI library, and chance to win Lego. If you want to see the demo of the workflow builder, there is a link here with the landing page and the link to the overflow library, which I have shown you just now, a link to community and my LinkedIn. All right. So I hope this was interesting thing. I know it is quite niche. I like it very much. And I hope that at least someone from our group like it too after my presentation. So are there any questions and any final questions? We have still time, so I can answer. I will check the Zoom because I don't see. Like no questions from you. Great. Okay. So thank you very much for attending and have a nice evening. Bye.